I'm Phaedra.
And I'm Sophie.
And welcome to My Best View. Sophie, what was your best view this week?
Podcast insiders, aka the two of us, know we actually recorded the last episode just yesterday. So I haven't physically viewed a whole lot with my eyeballs since then. That being said, I was reminded yesterday on a TikTok that I saw of a strongly held view I have in the sense of opinion views. And I want to leverage this platform that I have to get started on my topic, which is wedge salads make no sense and they're not fancy. And I don't know why they're advertised as it's such a fancy food. It's a slab of the worst kind of lettuce, flavorless, iceberg lettuce. The dressing is only on top. It's so messy to eat. And when you're cutting into it, the inside is just totally undressed.
That's ridiculous. They don't give you like something to dip it in? I've never ordered it.
No, it's just all on top.
Oh.
And people like on TikTok yesterday, someone was like, oh my God, my favorite wedge salad. And everyone's like, I love wedge salads. I'm like, wake up, sheeple. This doesn't make any sense. It feels good to get that off my chest. What was your best view this week?
Thank God I actually did something yesterday because that was not guaranteed with my normal habits. But yesterday, right after recording the pod, I did an activity that actually I think you would have enjoyed a lot. I kept thinking, oh, if only that Sophie was here right now, we would be having a blast. What we were doing, it was a Christmas gift that my mom gave the whole family, where her friend, who is like a professional artist, came over with a bunch of porcelain clay and paint, and we made little charms, like miniature things. Her name is Sarah Feingold. She's so lovely, and she does these little art classes where you can make these crafts. It was so fun. Also, I made her follow the pod.
Okay, then she deserves a shout out.
I made like various little earrings. I made like a boba tea that I then forced my sister to paint because I got overwhelmed when I got to that stage. I just focused on building a lot of them, and then I was like, oh my God, there's no time to paint them. And I made little kimbap earrings. I love miniature stuff, so I was having the greatest time. And then my husband next to me, he made like 20 little realistic croissants. I'm not talking a ham and cheese little square thing. By the way, it's not a croissant technically in France, but like the crescent shaped croissant. And like actually looked like how do I say, like he rolled it like you would roll dough. So it actually has the texture.
Your husband is one of those people who's just like randomly good at every hobby he tries.
It's genuinely frustrating because I'm bad at every hobby I try.
He just like picks stuff up. He sent me a video of him playing guitar the other day. He's like, just learned this 2 hours ago. And it's like really good. I was like, great view. And I'm actually jealous. I would have loved to be there. You know me well.
It really felt like something you would do.
Dare I say your whole Christmas was kind of about me. You made my cookies. I mean, you know, my little sister, when she was like really young and learned about Christianity, she was like, I don't get it. Why is Jesus' birthday Christmas? Why can't my birthday be Christmas? That's kind of my attitude. I'm like, Christmas? How about Sophie, miss?
Yeah. Can it be more about me?
Can we center me there a little more?
I am one of those annoying people where like when I'm opening Christmas gifts, I want everyone to be looking at me. I know that's controversial, but I also want everyone to be looking at whoever is opening the gifts, not just me.
I am all about one at a time. I hate the frenzy. I want every gift to be honored.
Yes! But a lot of people disagree with that.
Also, I believe like, I know you're like me. We love giving gifts and we love giving gifts thoughtfully. And so yeah. I want to also explain, like, I found this in a little tiny shop, but it made me think of you. That's not the same as, like, I got it on Amazon. So, like, the lore is part of the gift.
I will admit, this year I did get quite a few Amazon gifts because I did forget to buy gifts until 3 days before.
Well, it happens.
But normally, yes. But I am so cheap that my little lore about the gift is always, I got this on sale. I got this at Goodwill.
Yeah, whatever.
You know I got it on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is the one reason I was upset that my Facebook was deleted for a period.
I really get
I need to get back on there. I have to say, 2 nights ago, watching episode 6, the next morning, doing this pod ep 6 with you, then that night, so last night, watching episode 7, and this morning we're doing episode 7, I genuinely had such like a thrill watching. I really was like, I woke up multiple times this morning, not out of anxiety, which unfortunately is normally how I wake up on recording days because I'm really afraid that I'm going to sleep through it again, like that one time. Anyway, but then today I kept waking up like it was Christmas. I could not wait to recap this with you.
I literally feel like we need to do this full time. Can we find a pathway that we can just only be doing this?
So this is all to say, I'm very excited to get into this.
This was a good one.
So we start this episode with Shekinah and Sarper. Let's go.
Every day I fall more in love with Sarper, I have to say.
I just was so overwhelmed with this feeling. I want to meet him so badly.
We need a celebrity meet and greet, or at least a cameo from him.
Can you imagine if we got cameos from Sarper? So Shekinah is setting up her workspace, which, as a reminder, is her esthetician setup in her kitchen. And she tells Sarper that he has to leave for a while because her client is coming. He's a little bit like sassy about it. And he says to himself, Sarper, you're getting fired. And she's like shutting the door behind him. They show us B-roll footage of him working out at a local playground. Like, this is how he's spending his time while she's with a client. Again, another quote. In an interview, Sarper says, part-time homeless, he's on the streets. Wow.
I love him.
Amazing. He's walking down the sidewalk in the neighborhood, and the producer out loud, which is kind of fun. Just producerially, we've never seen this type of thing, I think.
I agree.
So the producer out loud while walking with the camera asks Sarper what he thinks about Shekinah worrying that there's all this temptation you're not going to be able to handle, like out in these LA streets. I don't know if you noticed this, but when he asked this, Sarper has this, not even a smile, but this weird look on his face as soon as the producer asks him, like slightly mischievous, that he quickly drops. It was kind of like a knowing tinkle in the eye. I don't know.
Tinkle or twinkle?
He peed in his eye. Shut up.
If it's...
As soon as I said it, I thought, that's not right.
Anyway, I loved when he told the producer he like can't be tempted. And he's like, even if they open their boobs, I just look and go.
And he mimics like pulling down their shirt, showing their tits to him. But you know what? I did have this thought in this moment where I don't really believe Sarper. I do think he can be tempted. I don't know. Maybe he would surprise me and be very loyal, but I don't fully believe him. Also, LA is wall-to-wall women of his type. There's so many Shekinahs. So if he's going to be tempted, like in Wyoming, maybe not. LA? I think there's a high likelihood.
That's true.
So now Sarper gets on a call with his parents during his walk. He explains that he's outside the house because Shekinah is with a client. His dad expresses that he doesn't think that's good, and Shekinah should have told him that before he moved, which is totally correct. Now we're cutting back to Shekinah in this moment. She's at home and her client comes in the door. My first thought here is, wow, I'd love to get a facial by Shekinah. Genuinely, I think that she would do a really good job. She does look quite professional.
She seemed very professional, yeah.
And I went on a rabbit hole of looking up Shekinah's facial business, by the way.
Well, tell me what you found.
It seems like she's still doing it. It's just like an esthetician website, and she only does custom facials, and they start at like $300, but that's starting price. So it seems like they're pretty pricey.
I'm so excited to see the website.
I want a cameo from Sarper, and if I'm in LA, I'm not kidding. I'm getting a fucking facial from Shekinah. I'm not playing. Dude, can you do it right now?
I just need $300. But I'm not kidding. I think we should make one of those like Google My Maps where you can pin a bunch of stuff of like key locations in the show, like her esthetician business, you know, wherever the frick Greg is going in Long Island. Like, I think we honestly should pin these places. Yeah, Shorn Heights. We should pin these places. Next time we do them, we can take a little detour. I don't think we have time for it right now, but I do want to at some point do a little Patreon special. We never post on Patreon. We will. About my experience when I was like 16 years old, going to this like low-key unlicensed at-home esthetician who was like a crazy person and a core memory for me.
It can be when you go get a facial from Shekinah, and they can compare it to this story. Love it. So Shekinah's client is like on the table, and Shekinah's working on her face, and she starts telling this really crazy sex story about a hookup she had recently and a guy getting
me out.
Whiskey dick.
Before that, she talked about giving a hand job, and her hands were so calloused. She was like, it's like he just did it himself. And I'm like,
what does that mean? What?
Okay, I guess because like, okay, I'm assuming that like the assumption is like women have like nice soft hands, but she was like working in the field, or I don't know what she was doing. So she had like super calloused hands. And so she was saying like it was like a man, felt like a man jerking him off. This show makes sex so unsexy.
Grotesque.
Disgusting. It's making me such a prude.
This was kind of validating that I think a lot of the disgust that we feel when we look at the throuple is not because they're a throuple. It's because the way that this show and they also portray it is gross. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Also, okay, with this lady, like she immediately, I mean, we don't know how long the facial was, but it seemed like pretty much the second she sat down, she's like, so I gave this super calloused hand job. And I'm like, I understand that okay, Obviously, they were stuck filming whoever was willing to be filmed. The truly private clients aren't going to go for this. But I felt that it did the opposite of prove the point of why Sarper couldn't be there. Because I'm like, this lady, she's the kind of person, I feel like she would tell the cashier at Trader Joe's about her calloused hand job. Like, she does not seem to be private. So I'm like, I low-key feel like Sarper could have been upstairs for this. Like, I understand that most clients, there is the desire for privacy, but I just feel like this example...
Low-key did the opposite.
I almost wish they hadn't included her because it just made it seem like, okay, these people are just big sluts who will say whatever in front of a camera. I mean, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
I actually have to say, like, her strictness with Sarper, actually makes me respect her a lot as an esthetician.
Yes, I think she's so professional.
It reflects well on her career. It's just bad for the relationship, and this is a relationship type show.
Agreed. So now we cut back to Sarper on the phone with his family on his walk.
On his exile.
He tells his family that he can't cook at home also, and his parents are really shocked and upset by this.
They're like, takeaway for every meal?
I mean, it's crazy.
I know, it would piss
These
me off
people are being
too.
logical. And Sarper tells them that if he didn't love Shekinah, he wouldn't do this. Sarper's dad here has a great quote. He says, obviously in Turkish, that's a translation, but he says, "You guys really did cross oceans to get there, but don't drown in a lake."
I know, that was deep.
I love that. I'm going to use that. Now in a different scene later, maybe the next morning, Sarper is shaving his neck at Shekinah's vanity, and she yells at him not to do that there because his little hairs will get everywhere, which is very fair. Why is he shaving not in the bathroom? That's crazy. I don't think anyone has ever done that.
He's using her little pink, like, eyebrow facial razor, which is like for like peach fuzz. He's using it for like his beard hair.
Like, what is he doing? And then I'm only including this because it's kind of like a filler or whatever, but he says, "You're one of the biggest bitch." And they both laugh. But that's the thing I wanted to highlight is they both love it. Like, they think that this is funny. So, okay, if Shekinah's okay with it, but I wouldn't be.
I know.
Loves to call her a bitch. And she loves to be called a bitch, I guess. So in this segment, it's explained that Sarper will be meeting Shekinah's friends. Oh boy, was this an interesting section. And this is like the plot of this episode. So Shekinah tells Sarper that he should be on his best behavior tonight and make a good impression on her friends. Sarper tells her he won't be offensive, is his word. Shekinah asks how he will feel if he feels like they gang up on him, which I have never met a friend where I thought, yeah, this person and the other friends are going to gang up on my partner. That's crazy. Why do these people have these friends?
I know. But also, again, it goes back to what have you told your friends about this person? Where that would be there. Because if like you have a nice partner and nice friends, like they're not going to be like, we hate you. So
yeah, it's a combination of what have you primed your friends with, like more in the case of maybe Jessica with her friend Megan.
Yes.
But then in this case, more than that, it's why are your friends all crazy people who are also bad people?
Also, well, spoiler alert, botched. The word botched was flashing on my screen. Botched. Botched-er.
We thought that Shekinah and Sarper had work done. These people have even more and less successful work. I don't feel that it's body shaming to point that out about someone's work because that's not how their body looks naturally. They have paid to do this.
It's a choice that they made, and it's not even like one of those people who like got scammed because they like went to a cheaper place, and like these people, they were like, hey, could you do more?
Yeah, and they all look the same also. They have the same type of work.
They look the way they wanted, but they have that plastic surgery blindness where everyone in your life has plastic surgery. So you like forget that having lips that are like go up to your nose that were naturally flat and all of a sudden they're like huge. Like that's like
if I one day step out with like my upper lip being the same thickness as my lower lip, okay, you guys would know I got lip filler. If my upper lip is twice as big as my lower lip, I'm gonna look like Shekinah's friends. It was crazy. They were giving duck.
Also, just while we're at it, one thing that cracked me up was due to the insane amount of surgery and filler and everything these people have, they were expressionless the whole time. Even when things were dramatic, they were like, I'm shocked. This is crazy. What?
No way. Something about seeing all of these people, including Shekinah and Sarper, at the table, I just was like, yeah, I couldn't do it, LA. I could not live there. And I know that there's different types of LA. Of course, guys, I know that this is a very, like, a type of people who live in LA. It is not even necessarily the majority. I very rarely see people like this where I live in New York. Like,
I know. And specifically what these people looked like, I'm sure we'll post pictures of them, but I don't know if you've seen this. This is a very specific thing, but sometimes like drag queens will do like a bit about people who have too much plastic surgery, and it's like very theatrical and over the top. I feel like that's what it looks like, someone making fun of people who have too much work done, especially that one guy. That one guy was,
oh my God, he looked like, I don't know if it was like a type of animal or some celebrity, but he looked so familiar to me, but not like he is famous.
Familiar and alien at the same time.
Yeah, like the implants were going crazy. We have to move on, but like...
Yeah. It was shocking, though. It was really shocking. I will say there was one friend who was not botched, who was the French friend, Dan. He seemed pretty natural looking, but his personality was botched.
Yes. So even if these people look normal, their personality is fucked. And to be clear, it was literally just him. Everyone else looked insane. That's a good transition to Shekinah brings up in this moment with Sarper before meeting the friends that she's worried about her friend Dan in particular. And this is a guy who still has feelings for her, she says. So it sounds like that they did have some kind of a relationship. They went on a couple dates, and Dan later is like, yeah, some stuff happened, which was so gross.
More than kissing.
More than kissing. I'm like, what are you, 12? This is really embarrassing. Why are you telling your business like this? And we see a flashback scene here of Dan telling Shekinah that he, quote, still loves her, which was interesting. It really made me want to watch. I mean, I think we say this every time there's a flashback, but I'm like, whoa, there was really tea in whatever spinoff they were on before this.
Release all the footage. We need it.
So in an interview, Shekinah says that Dan is harmless in spite of all this. How is a friend of yours being in love with you while you're in a different relationship harmless?
And like,
it's not harmless.
Openly in love with you and like talking about it publicly.
Like vying for you.
This isn't harboring a secret crush that never comes up. It's like, I'm in love with you. He's not good for you. You should be with me instead. Like, openly.
That was the energy. So very weird. So finally, they go to the restaurant and meet her friends. Okay, side note, one of the friends does look like Trisha Paytas, the blonde.
I see it a bit.
I do feel like the way that she looked like Trisha Paytas was pretty crazy. I thought she looked almost identical to her.
I was so focused on the mega botched guy. I need to actually go back and look at every single character separately.
There was a lot going on. So it's a pretty big group of friends. It was probably 5 of them. It was like 3 women, 2 men, one of them being Dan, one of them being the Trisha Paytas lookalike. Basically, in this section, it's just Dan and Sarper going back and forth, and Dan being a fucking crazy person. The rest of the friends barely say anything, at least that makes it into the edit. So Dan, Shekinah's friend, asks if Sarper wants to marry Shekinah, which, I mean, they literally are getting married. What does that mean?
Engaged.
Yeah.
They're engaged. Yeah.
Sarper says he couldn't pay him to live in the U.S. if it weren't for Shekinah. So that's his answer, which is kind of funny because I guess looking back on it, he didn't actually say yes or no.
True.
You know?
But I also feel like he doesn't feel like beholden to Dan. He's like, I think he'd be maybe different if this was, well, I don't know. He was also crazy to her family apparently, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I will say in general in this segment, it kept feeling, at least to me, like they were referencing things that happened in the past that we haven't been informed about.
Agreed.
Because this was heated from the first second.
Right.
And like Dan would kept kind of implying he doesn't like trust Sarper and stuff like that. And I'm like, I would have loved to know what that was based on.
Oh, that's a really good point. I didn't even consider that they could have met each other or have history. But yeah, why wouldn't they have?
Or at least like, I'm curious what Dan was told because he just came in hot.
Well, I felt like the producers slipped him $50 to just go in and bomb the hell out of that situation.
Or that. But in any case, something happened before this conversation because the escalation was not proportional to what the actual conversation and vibe was.
Totally true. Yeah, it felt like it came out of nowhere, or at least was just really dramatic considering what we were seeing everyone else doing.
And I feel like even here, I feel like the exact conversation doesn't even matter that much, but it was just this like ping pong match of Dan being like, I would be a better boyfriend than you are. You're a bullshitter. You're a cheater. And like everyone else just sitting there. It was really odd.
It was very strange. No one else was matching his energy. And it was just super intense to be saying all of that in front of everyone. Like, I don't know, Sarper, we are picking up on the fact that he is coming at you. We are noticing that.
We're validating it.
So Dan continues to go really hard in on Sarper, trying to assert dominance over him, which was just really fucking embarrassing. It was making me cringe so hard. I couldn't believe that Shekinah wasn't like, or any of the other friends weren't stepping in and saying chill, which almost gave me the vibe that everyone was acting in this moment, or Shekinah loves the attention. I couldn't tell what the vibe was, but it was very unrecognizable to me personally as something I would ever want to be happening. But Dan literally at one point says that he thinks that when Shekinah was back in LA and not in Turkey, Sarper was sleeping with other women there. He says he thinks he would be the better guy to be with for Shekinah than Sarper. Just ew. And
I know.
Sarper in an interview says that there's so much that he wants to say to Dan in this moment, but he can't because Shekinah is there and this is an ego clash. And Sarper has this funny comment in an interview where he says that him and Dan are the only two Mediterranean Europeans at the table and they're having a different conversation that the others aren't picking up on. And I just had this thought where I felt like it's so embarrassing when men try to have mind games. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Because they think that they're having this really high level, like no one's picking up on the ego mind game we're playing. And it's so obvious and bad. It's embarrassing.
I know.
They could never do what Mina and Jordan are doing.
I know, that's the thing too. I feel like women understand like the way to do like little subtle jabs and like referencing things that only you would know. These guys are like, I hate you. I'm a better guy for her.
Yeah,
you're a
it's
bullshitter.
not a mind
it's like
game.
Everyone knows what's happening.
Exactly. You're just having a confrontation.
Why is Shekinah friends with this dude?
That was my question too.
He doesn't seem particularly nice. He doesn't seem particularly exciting or fun and like he's not even like a life of the party douchebag. He just seems like a dick. And then even if he's in her broader social circle, I don't understand why he's in her like inner circle that's like the first people meeting Sarper.
Yeah.
Like have a little sense, girl. Why is this guy here?
I agree. It was very bizarre. I really got the vibe that honestly he just wants to be on TV.
And I think the producers wanted him too.
Yeah. Oh my God, I just realized who he looks like.
Trisha Paytas.
He looks like Chris Harrison.
A bit. From The Bachelor. Yeah, a bit.
The disgraced previous host.
You have that same sleazy vibe.
And same like hook nose. I'm allowed to say that I have a statement nose. Dan explicitly says, I still think that I'd be a better guy to be with. Shekinah says, I don't even know what you're saying right now. So it seems like she doesn't like it, but she's not fully shutting him down. And guys, we have to express like he kept going and going and going for so long.
3 full segments of this show were them. 2 entire segments were just Dan being like, I hate you. I'm better than you. I mean, it was like just that.
It was so weird. Sarper says to him that Dan isn't Shekinah's type. He looks like a bad guy, but he is a good boy. Okay. Like again, just the really such lame back and forth. It was just bad.
To be honest, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, could we have summarized this in actually 5 seconds? Maybe.
Yeah, essentially. So Sarper in an interview says, old version Sarper, I would bounce him and throw him up, catch him in the air and alley-oop him. And he wants me to do such a thing.
Loved that.
Alley-oop. Isn't that like a really retro phrase from like, I don't even know, like
it's
animations?
Like a basketball thing. It's a basketball thing. I love it.
And Dan says, can I do a French accent for this?
Please, I allow it.
Sophie has a French passport, so she's giving me the go-ahead. It's okay.
On behalf of us all.
So Dan says, I don't want you to continue collecting your Barbies in your closet. You are not a Ken, and she's not a Barbie.
That was excellent.
Thank you. I think that the accent really adds something that you needed to hear to explain why he's saying these words. And I have to say, this is some of the lamest trash talk I have ever heard. This is so
You're
embarrassing.
not a Ken.
Oh yeah, you're not a Ken. She's not a Barbie. It was so weird. Shekinah in this though, her not saying anything and her just kind of sitting there like almost with a smile on her face. You know what she was giving?
Barbie.
A little bit. I was thinking she was giving from The Office, Angela, when Dwight and Andy were having a duel over her.
Yes.
She's
That's
like,
actually
no,
very
stop.
accurate.
I don't like it. And then she's like,
Hey, stop, you guys. Yeah,
really liking
totally.
it. It was very strange. And then Sarper, another great quote in an interview, he says about Dan, he's nonstop talking, that French baguette. The little French baguette is nonstop talking.
Loved it.
Love Sarper's use of the English language always. Basically, this was it. It just ended on this tense thing. Dan at one point gets up and storms off, and it was so fake, I felt.
The one thing that struck me, Dan was so reactive, but like he was reacting to actually nothing.
Sarper really wasn't giving him much.
He'd be like, that's it. And it's like the conversation before seemed like not that big of a deal. So it was, the whole thing was odd. Honestly, it just, it reeked of producer interference.
Yes.
In a way that I actually don't love because it just felt so, it felt so WWE. It just didn't feel like it was real. And to even 1%. So it kind of just wasn't that exciting to see.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan doesn't even have feelings for Shekinah. It felt quite fake.
Yeah.
It did give me this feeling for the first time of, are Shekinah and Sarper faking this in general? Because this felt almost like everyone at the table was acting.
It's possible, and I'm curious to see.
Because then I was retroactively looking at everything that's happened up until the season. And I'm not saying that every single thing shown was fake, but think about even, I don't know, a lot of their sections have been a little bit of a nothing burger. What has been interesting has been Sarper's, honestly, star quality and his funny one-liners and just his personality. But actual plot-wise, I could see, honestly, everything that has happened having been acted.
I have to reflect on this.
Like, imagine if the two of them actually know that he wants to come to LA specifically, because I see him as a real LA boy, and that they actually have a good relationship. I mean, I'm not saying they have a perfect relationship at all, but maybe they're both satisfied in their relationship and do want to get married. I could see everything being acted, honestly.
I have to really reflect on this, actually, because it's possible, but I can't say for sure yet.
Up until now, it's entertained me a lot, so I'm not even going to say that's bad, but this Dan guy did lose me a bit because I felt I could see through it a lot more, and it became less entertaining.
Like, expose the cracks a bit.
We'll have to see what happens next time, but it's a little bit of a theory I'm working with. We'll see.
Okay, so we're back on freaking Bald Head Island with Mark and Mina. So it starts with Mark, who's wearing an outfit I've never seen before. A polo shirt with a Hawaiian shirt on top.
Very New Hampshire of him.
It just shows a lack of, it's like attempted Jimmy Buffett vibes, but not really successful. It starts with Mark. He goes to Mina, and he's like, in this breathy, resigned voice, he goes, "Let's try to have fun, okay? Please." The reveal is that they're going to the actual Bald Head Island to have a barbecue at his rich and, much more handsome brother's house.
Wait, are you saying that because his name is Rich?
I wasn't. He's wealthy and his name is Rich. Wait, imagine your name is Rich and you're actually poor.
Ugh. It's like naming your daughter Aphrodite and she's fugly.
It's just like that. Thank God Rich is rich. Yes, his rich brother Rich. It's a good mnemonic. It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
So Mark is trying to pre-mediate a little bit with at this point he's just with Mina. And so he's like, if you work it out with Jordan, great. If you don't, you don't. He's so over it. But maybe an apology will help. And Mina just goes, no.
Both Mark and Mina look really tired. They look like they stayed up all night arguing. And now Mark is like, I don't really care at this point.
He's
Can
just
we
like,
just
fuck
get
it.
along for now? Yeah.
So they are getting on a ferry to the actual Bald Head Island. And Jordan and her boyfriend Gabe are also on the same ferry as them. But there's just amazing body language. They're on the same ferry, but they're back to back, sitting with their backs facing each other.
There's benches in a U formation. And so that's how they're sitting back to back.
Yes. So Jordan and Mina are back to back. Gabe is next to Jordan and Mark is more towards Mina, but kind of in the middle on the curve of the U. It's just a very interesting vibe, but especially Mina and Jordan back to back with their arms crossed. It's giving the cover of a movie about enemies.
Yeah. Then Jordan starts to do this thing that did genuinely really annoy me because up till now, I haven't thought that Jordan has handled, honestly, most of this well, but I have had a lot of empathy for how she's feeling. And I still do have that empathy, but she did actually start to annoy me genuinely in this section because while they're in this weird formation where her and Mina are back to back, she starts saying kind of just maybe to her boyfriend or to the camera, maybe to Mark. It's kind of unclear. She starts doing this thing where she's like, this is so awkward. This is really weird. She's just sitting there, not talking to me, saying comments like that repeatedly. But I have to say, loud enough that the cameras are picking up totally fine, loud enough for her boyfriend to be listening and hearing her. At one point, Mina seemingly turns around and looks at Jordan. So I feel like she heard what she was saying. And this was just giving super, super petty, honestly,
mean girl
bully
vibes.
Very mean girl vibes. It did upset me because I feel like I've seen this type of behavior before. It's this weird passive aggressive thing. And then she did something that on its own actually would be admirable. But having gone from this weird mean girl behavior right into that, I couldn't give her the credit for it.
So Jordan expresses in an interview with the producers that she does wish her dad would actually kind of mediate and help. And I think she at this point is starting to realize his role in having to some degree created this tension between the two of them, but also like his refusal to actually help in any sort of real way.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to the ferry and Mark is like, again, triangulating. He's telling Jordan what happened with Mina, like right next to Mina, like within earshot of Mina.
He won't stop. It's crazy.
And then Jordan turns around and she's like kind of sweet. I mean, to be honest, pretty obviously faux sweet. But she's like, hey, Mina, you know, and she basically says she wants to clear the air and just like have a nice family weekend. And Mina is actually pretty receptive to this and agrees that like it's important that they try to get along. She does say to the camera, she's like, I thought it was honorable and kind of her to say that, like, if it's not fake. But I don't know if it was real or fake, which actually I think is like a very fair take to have on this.
Yeah, this episode overall, I had a lot of empathy with Mina. I felt like she was a lot more of a true victim in this episode.
I agree. I had the same feeling.
Yeah.
And so then like they get off the ferry. They take like separate golf carts to the Rich brothers' house. And Mina and Mark are talking in the golf cart, and Mina says like she's scared to see the quote lion family. She loves animal metaphors. She says she's scared to see the lion family because she sees that Jordan took a golf cart ahead of them, and she thinks like Jordan's using that head start to shit talk her to the family, which probably true.
Like normally I would think that she's being paranoid, but given Jordan's entire vibe in this episode, I agree. I think that probably happened. Actually, we got confirmation it did happen.
And then Mark, in that same conversation, asks Mina to stop calling Jordan a snake because she has called Jordan a snake probably 100 times.
The name calling does need to stop. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if snake means something different in French, but in English it's an insult, so you got to stop. And I'm like, she definitely knows what she's doing, but
yeah. Mark, do you think that she's saying it like, oh no, snake is like a really cuddly thing in France that we love?
We love them. They're so nice. And so, and it's interesting because it's like actually the first time I've heard him like really push back against Mina. And I think it's fair. I do think like the name calling isn't kind or productive.
Agreed.
And so they get to the house and they meet Sherry, Mark's mother. Okay, I know 58 is not that old, but at a certain age, I like forget people still have parents. I'm like, oh, you also have mom. Whoa.
I had the same thought. I was like, oh my God, she's still alive. And then I realized, yeah, that's my grandparents because my parents are
like not
55-ish. So
yeah.
But it felt crazy. I was like,
in my mind, Mark has such like old energy. In my mind, he's like 100 years old. So
if I saw Mark and his mom hanging out, I would think that they were the same age. I think they were just friends.
Or a couple.
Be more age appropriate than Mina.
So Sherry tells the camera that she met Mina in Paris, that trip where they were all in Paris, and that on the first night, Mina cooked them a lovely meal and that she felt really good about Mina.
She only had nice things to say.
And it seemed genuine. And again, I don't know if this is also just like maybe the mom is wiser and she's like, this is my grandchild. This is the mother of my grandchild. Like there's not a lot of value in, but for whatever reason, she actually is speaking positively about Mina.
I said the same thing. Later, we see one of the younger women having more of a recollection that is similar to Jordan's, which is more negative. And also some other people other than just those two siding more with that. Sherry was the only one who just strictly was like, yeah, have a lovely impression of her.
Of all the people, I was like, okay, you are actually thinking strategically. I don't know if it's coming from a strategic place, but you're the only one who's doing it right. I will say, that being said, as Mark's mother, she's not in line to get Mark's inheritance.
True.
So I will just say that she doesn't have that in mind that I think Jordan does, but still, I admired her approach. And then we meet Mark's brother, Rich, who, okay, I know I already said this, but I thought Rich was like strikingly better looking than Mark.
He was kind of hot, yeah.
So then we meet Rich's wife, Christy, who says in an interview with the camera, she says that she didn't have the best impression of Mina at the christening, and she has very similar complaints to what Jordan has raised, that she didn't feel welcomed by Mina and that Mina came 4 hours late. But here we get the confirmation of what we suspected, which is that Mina told her friends and family that she was running 4 hours late, or maybe her friends and family just had the same like cultural understanding of time that Mina did, but Mark's family was not made aware. Yes. And so it was just Mark's family for 4 hours waiting on her.
Which it's interesting because here in the interview, Christy says that this was Mina's fault for not telling them to come 4 hours late. This is Mark's fault. Why is no one identifying that? This is 100% Mark's fault.
It really, I know he does not get enough credit in this family for his role in things at all, or whatever the opposite of credit is, discredit.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a conversation between Mark and his brother Rich. And Mark tells Rich he thought the baptism weekend went great. And Rich is like shocked. Really? No, it didn't.
He's like, I have to interrupt you.
Which is just funny. And basically, Rich has some of the same complaints that Mina was so late, that she didn't make an effort to really try to spend time with them. And he basically says the same complaints as everybody else, basically. And Mark says, I don't know why adding Mina to the mix is creating this tension and hostility. And I'm just like, Mark, you're so stupid.
Yeah, what's not clicking for him? How does he genuinely not seem to understand the situation?
He's so stressful. So then Mark's brother reveals that they all booked refundable tickets to the wedding.
That was crazy to share. Smart to do, crazy to share. I felt that was kind of mean.
I agreed. It didn't feel kind. And then he also reveals that his more complete thoughts on the whole thing in Paris were that the first night in Paris was good, which is what Sherry, the mom, had highlighted, that Mina was super welcoming the first night, but that it was just bad after that. And Mark says, well, the Mina from the first night is the Mina he knows. And he didn't realize the rest was such a big deal.
Like, okay.
I just thought that was interesting because like Mark is the problem here mostly, but he's also very like picking and choosing. Like the fact that he's like, well, the first night was good. And like, again, Sherry, I think very strategically only mentioned the first night because she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
But like if everybody had a bad impression, if you have 4 nights together and 1 is good and 3 are bad, like the 3 that are bad are going to outweigh the 1 that's good. And it's funny that Mark's like, well, the first night is the real her. So that's what counts. Like he's doing this weird, I don't know what math calculation in his head that I don't think is real. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's also funny because in a previous episode, when the whole being 4 hours late to the christening came up, I remember Mina saying, well, to me, that's normal. Like to do like a big glam appointment and then show up and maybe just being late is normal in her culture. So it's funny that Mark now is saying, oh, the christening day was the outlier, when Mina has explicitly said that's normal to me. Like that's a part of her. And he's picking and choosing, as you say, what he views as the true her versus the not true her, which is not aligning with how she views herself, which is not a good sign.
Also, if Mark could just be like, you guys, I fucked up at the baptism. Like, I know that she has a different definition of time, because a lot of cultures do. Totally. And he could just be like, you know, I fucked up. I should have told you guys, like, it's on me. Like, okay. But to be like, what? I don't know. Like, he's removing himself from a situation in a way where if he could, like, actually insert himself, it would actually fix things. So, I don't know. It's odd.
Absolutely.
Mark then, in an interview, says nothing is going right. He's kind of surprised that the family seems to be not supporting his choice to marry Mina. And he also doesn't feel like a family barbecue is the place for this feedback, which I agree with. I also don't know how often they see each other, but I do agree. Like the pile-on at this barbecue felt a bit mean. And then it gets worse. They're all like sitting in a circle outside. Like, and by the way, it's a lot of people here. It's like even relatives we don't actually meet, like cousins and stuff.
Yeah.
And so Mark asks if everyone got the wedding Evite. And everyone's like, yeah, we got it. And then Jordan, in front of everyone, asks, so are you guys going to get a prenup?
This pissed me
off.
I
wanted to slap her.
Actually really mean of her to do. It was really cruel.
It really was.
To me, unforgivable, honestly. Like, you're a grown adult. And you should know better.
And then Mark should have been like, you know what, Jordan? This isn't the time and place for that. Shut it down.
Why did no one in this family jump in? I would have been like, ooh, that's a private conversation. Haha.
Even if I wanted the prenup, I still would have been like, ooh, maybe this is something we talk about later.
Yeah. Even if they said, yeah, we're getting a prenup, it's just like awkward. This is not like a fun conversation.
Super awkward. And so Mark says, yeah, they're going to get one. And it's clearly a surprise to me. Yes. And Mark like does slightly push back. He's like, this is a weird time to bring this up. But yeah, I'm going to. Like, he still entertains it, which is weird. Yep. This is his boundary setting. It's like, well, it's kind of weird. But anyway, and then like continuing.
Yeah, but just going with whatever the person said that he thinks will get the conversation to stop as quickly as possible.
And this very fairly upsets Mina.
I really felt for her.
I do too, because she's the outlier. I mean, she's new to the family. She doesn't speak English that well, so I don't feel like she's connecting. She's able to connect really deeply with a lot of the people yet. Yeah. They all hate her, and it's obvious. It's just it's such a bad situation for her. And then this on top of everything. So she asks Mark, she's like, so you also think I'm in it for the money? And he's like, well, he's such a bumbling fool. He's like, well, it's good for the age difference, and it's just, I'll take care of you and me and Maria, but it's just about the stuff I had before we met.
Guys, keep in mind, this is in front of his whole family.
His cousins, loose people we didn't even meet. I mean, it's like at least 10 people there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Mina says she needs a minute and gets up and leaves. And it's just like, why are they doing this?
Why did no one shut down this conversation? It was so weird. Like, no one looked really comfortable, to be honest. It was such a waspy conversation.
I know. This whole family has just no conflict resolution skills. It's very clear. Mina then mentions to the camera, and I totally believe her, that Mark has never mentioned a prenup until now.
Girl.
And she finds it disgusting that he's bringing it up. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like, I think it is disgusting the way it's being handled.
It's really mean. Yeah, absolutely.
And then going back to the group, Jordan says she's clearly picking up on the fact that Mina is actually shocked by this. And so she says to her dad, she's like, I thought you already talked about it because when we were golfing, you told me you talked about it.
Oh my God. So he's straight up been lying to her. I didn't really put that together. Yeah.
I know. And then Mark has the dumbest excuse. He goes, well, this could be Mina just not understanding what I'm saying. Like blaming her language skills.
That was so insulting.
And Jordan's like, she knows what a prenup is, right? And I'm like, these people have descended into just like petty cruelty at this point. Like, I find it inexcusable. I think they're just being so nasty.
I agree.
And Mark says to the group, keep in mind, Mina is now like in a separate area, like, you know, collecting herself. He says this may feel like everyone ganging up on Mina, but he doesn't go after her.
Yeah, he doesn't. He sits with his family while Mina is literally like sobbing to the camera, holding Maria.
And then Mina says to the camera that Mark doesn't know how much this hurts her and that she would have stayed in France if she knew it would be like this. I was firmly team Mina this episode.
Me too. I'm really wondering if Mina is an example of an imperfect victim.
You know what? It's very possible.
I'm really leaning toward that, though, because there's moments where she can be a little petty. She can say things that are rude or, you know, not just polite or whatever. But at the same time, looking at objectively the situation she's in, this sucks. She hasn't shown any actual concrete proof that she is, for example, a gold digger or just with him for his money. She doesn't even want to be in America.
I know. Also, I'm so sure that Mark pursued her. So I'm sure he, you know, spotted her across the restaurant, pursued her, and she's just like going along with it. And then all of a sudden there's this whole set of like rules and expectations she didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, Jordan being like, you should have picked an older guy. It's like, your dad pursued me. He should have picked an older woman.
And why would that ever be on her? Why would that ever be on her? She didn't have adult children from a previous marriage that she should think of. I mean, she has Clayton, you know, but it doesn't seem... well, we don't know if Clayton's dad is a part of their life. We don't know. We haven't gotten that context. But maybe not, given that he wasn't staying with his dad, you know, while they're trying to figure out his passport situation. So she's only gaining things from this in the sense that it seems like she does love Mark and they have a relationship and she wants... The thing that she's gaining is being with the person that she loves. And I really am thinking she's just an imperfect victim and I'm really feeling for her. And I think that people aren't going to give her the empathy she deserves because of the optics of some of the situation, like the gold digging thing you can hurl at her that we don't have any proof for.
I also think one thing she hasn't explicitly said, but I think one thing that's part of it as well is like, you can say what you want about Mina, but Maria is a part of the family.
Yes.
Maria is Mark's child. And I think probably on some level, she's also worried about, as sort of Maria being an extension of herself, that Maria is also not being welcomed into her literal family of birth origin, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, even last episode, Jordan being like in front of Maria. I know Maria's little, but still, I wish you hadn't had a baby. It's like,
how can you say that?
And so I do wonder if it's also triggering like a maternal protection thing for Mina on that level as well, you know?
And totally think that it would. And think about the fact that through all of this, the thing that is not really being explicitly brought up is that Mina is constantly thinking about her son Clayton, who is not in the US yet, and who clearly they're not sure how or if he can come. We're not clear on the actual legal thing that's going on with him, but she's constantly thinking about her son. So that kind of maternal feeling of needing to protect her child is already, I'm sure, very heightened. And as you said, feeling like that is now extended potentially to Maria not being accepted either. I honestly...
When she like left the horrible group conversation to go, you know, collect herself, like she was with Maria. She and Maria were in the forest while she was sobbing. Like they are a unit and they're collectively not being welcomed to the family, even though I don't think anyone has a problem with Maria. She's very cute. So
Mhm.
I just think that's another level as well.
But a lot of times in this kind of family dynamic, people don't understand that if you reject the mom, you're rejecting the kid. Because that kid most likely loves their mom too. And if you as an adult find out that part of your family rejected or didn't fully embrace your mom, you get pissed. Or it feels like they're rejecting you too. It's just upsetting.
Especially if there's an implication that the child was only created as like an entrapment
Yeah.
technique.
What the hell?
I know. So this was just kind of sad. I really felt for Mina. I
Me
really
too.
wanted to slap every single member of this family.
Me too. I wanted to pick up Mina and Maria and hug them and bring them to get ice cream or something.
I know. We're on to the next couple, and it's Greg and Joan. Greg and Joan make me so sad because this is such a fall from grace in my eyes and my perception. Like
I know.
at the beginning, I was like, Greg is a sweet guy who's down on his luck. And now I'm like, Greg, you are the most useless piece of shit. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And
And Greg, we wanted to love you. We wanted you to be a better Sarper, a sweet, funny guy.
I was like voluntarily giving Greg pity at the beginning. And now I'm like, you're a self pitying piece of shit. Things have really turned around for me with this. So we're in Greg's room. He's on the computer playing video games, and Jonah's encouraging him gently to actually fold and put away his clothing. And then it cuts to an interview with the producers, and Greg says things are great and mostly smooth. But there are some things that Joan's getting frustrated with, which he didn't expect.
Is the implication that it's that she wanted him to clean up after himself? Like, what about that would not be expectable?
I think every issue Joan has, such as not wanting to live with his mom for 2 years, could be expected. And I think actually everyone else in the community is expecting it.
Yes. No one seems shocked by this except for Greg.
So that's confusing to me. And then he says this line that made me actually want to like punch my TV. He said, I'm used to having my mom nag and bicker at me and picking up after me. Okay, picking up after you is a really kind thing to do. So I don't know why you're putting that in the same sentence as nag, which
Yep.
I mean is a gendered word that I hate anyway. But
Me too.
so
Like, what does nagging even mean?
I'm used to having my mom nag and bicker at me and picking up after me. Now I have to worry about another woman nagging me. We'll see how that works out. I'm like, Greg, if this is how you feel, you need to break up and release Joan and let her go back to her much better life in Uganda.
Yeah. Greg, you're 35. Dude, okay. Yeah, because as frustrating as it is, if someone is not a tidy person in their 30s, which I will say personally, for the record, that's very likely to be me. I tend to not be very tidy. But if someone comes into my space and they go, hey, you should clean up after yourself, I know they're right. I'm not like, oh my God, they're nagging me. They're totally right.
I just want to add not just your space, your communal space that you share with this person.
Yep. When me and my husband started dating, he was like, oh, you don't really clean anything. It's gross. And he was absolutely right. And I just told him, I said, you are correct. I know this about myself. I really appreciate, which he was already offering, you teaching me like ways to clean better or to tidy up. I genuinely find that helpful. I know it's not your job, but thank you for doing that for me. I'm going to let you know I'm really going to try. It's going to take me some time to make new habits, but I want you to know that I'm trying. And I have gotten better. Not perfect, but I've gotten better. And I think that's the attitude you have to have. You have to say, it's going to take me a while just because it's hard to form new habits after I've been doing this my whole life. But I genuinely appreciate you helping me and I'm going to put an effort. And I understand that that's a part of respecting you as my partner in my space. You can't be like, he's nagging me. No, shut up. They're literally trying to help you.
Greg at this point has fully become my bitch eating crackers because he's playing a video game. And I'm like, okay, actually, it's fine to play a video game. But I'm like, get up off your ass. Stop playing a video game. I like don't know how long he's been playing.
He could have applied to 20 jobs that day and he's just playing for 10 minutes. And I still was like, get up. I know.
In the meantime, Joan decides to call her family and they're all like fairly concerned that like she has to live with Greg's mom for 2 years and also that Greg has no money. And they're like, tell him to get a job.
For the record, they have the exact same concerns that Joan has. They're not differing from what she already knows. Yeah.
And then Joan says in an interview that she does love Greg, but she's losing a lot to be here. And this made me so sad. She said she's ashamed because everyone thinks America is the land of opportunity. And it sounds like people were really happy for her.
Yeah.
But like her circumstances are not what people think.
Like if they weren't at Lucille's house, they'd be living in poverty. They're on the cusp of it, which is a horrible feeling.
So her family asked on this call about the dowry. And Joan says she hasn't asked Greg about it because she knows he has no money. And they basically explain more about what that means, and that in Uganda, there is an expectation that the groom will pay the bride's family a dowry, and that this is something that's critical to respect her culture, her family, and even her late father's like dying wishes.
Yeah.
And she says she can't get married if she doesn't have the dowry.
Dowry heads. Technically, it's a bride price. Bride price is what she's describing, which is in certain cultures, the woman is seen as an economic asset, basically, because they make money for the family. They work, they make money, they bring profit. And so to get married, the husband has to essentially pay for the wife in the sense of to compensate for what they're losing financially by losing the wife from the family. So a dowry would be the opposite of that. That's in cultures where women are seen as a financial burden. So that's like England and like, like Regency era, Bridgerton vibes, because they don't work, or, the rich ones don't work. So that's when the bride, her family would pay the husband, the groom's family, to essentially allow them to
take
marry.
her off their hands.
To take her off. Yeah, because she's a burden for them financially.
Oh, that's so interesting. I actually didn't know that. That's super interesting.
Yeah. So we do refer to it as a dowry because that's the term that most people know, but technically this is a bride price.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for that. So this next segment, Greg and Joan are collecting eggs in the yard because Greg and Lucille have like 18 chickens.
That was awesome. It made me really want to get chickens. Me having chickens in my Brooklyn backyard. Can you imagine?
I'm sure people do.
Actually, there is someone in our neighborhood.
I love that. Next episode, there's going to be a bunch of noise because they're setting up a chicken coop on the roof. Anyway, then they have an interview that they're both doing with the producers. And Joan basically says that in Uganda, they eat their pet chickens, as they do in many cultures. They're not really pets. She's like, when can we eat a chicken? And Greg is so horrified at the thought.
I think she's joking, though.
I think so, too. But it was like, it struck me as like a dumb producer thing. Because I do think she was joking. But to be honest, I think people without critical thinking skills, i.e. most of the viewers, wouldn't know she was joking. And they'd be like, but also I believe her that they do eat their chickens, because in most cultures, you don't keep chickens as pets. They're farm animals that you eat. And so just kind of felt like a dumb producer thing of like, cultural differences. They eat chickens over there.
Yeah. It's like, we do too. We just buy them, but whatever. Wait, sorry. Side note. One of my neighbors sacrificed a chicken the other week.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard its neck snap.
Anyway.
PETA, we have to cut that.
Lucille finds them at the chicken coop and says she's leaving for work. And basically, you know what that means. They're finally alone in the house.
We get this like down, chicka, down music. It's so, oh my gosh.
So Greg says that wherever he is, Lucille finds a job to do in that room. Like, he's like, she's always following me around. I hate it. I'm never alone. But then he's describing it. And I'm like, I think it's just her like cleaning the house. He's like, whenever I'm in the kitchen, she's in there doing dishes. And I'm like,
yeah, well, why are there dishes to be done, Greg?
Yeah. Like, it doesn't sound like she's like dusting the teapot. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yes. Okay, it sounds like she's just actually cleaning the house. So
yeah, he's like, I go to the living room. She's vacuuming. These are things you have to do in a home. Again, like him kind of complaining about things, but then in describing it, it's revealed that these are just things that people do regardless of if you're in the room. Like, people would be cleaning up and you're taking it as like oh, she's always following me around. He's not seeing the labor that the women around him are doing for him.
They're just nagging and bickering and following him around. Then there's an interview with Lucille in the car on her way to work, where she says that the situation is actually better than she expected. And I'm actually surprised to hear this. I thought she'd say something negative.
I know. And she specifically says that Greg seems happier, which is good to her, which is sweet. Like, I'm glad that
it is sweet.
I'm glad that she sees this. Like, in shows like this, I feel like often they try to put people into these archetypes, like these boxes, and obviously she's getting put into the archetype of like crazy mother-in-law, and I do think she has tendencies to that, but I appreciate that we got this moment to show she's not just that. She does fundamentally care. Yeah, like, I don't think she's just a bad person or something.
Okay, so Greg is like very blatantly saying that he wants to have sex because Lucille is gone, and it's like very clear this is what's happening, and he's like, I have all this testosterone built up. I'm sorry, disgusting.
Again, the way that sex is shown in this show is so gross.
But I do want to flag something really interesting. So he's clearly alluding to the fact that they're going to have sex. Then it cuts instantly to them outside wearing bathrobe. And at first you're like, did they have sex already? And it's revealed that they did. But this just made me think, like, I guarantee Joan does not feel comfortable with being portrayed in a sexual context. And I think that's probably why they didn't film them like getting in bed together or like their feet rubbing up against each other. And it makes me realize how much the throuple has consented to. I don't know. I just see Joan being like, I'm not doing sex scenes. It was like the least we've ever seen when a couple in this show has sex. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, it makes you wonder how much people are actually in control of their sexual narratives.
That's a good point. And I think that a lot of people don't know that they can say, I'm not doing that. Just because you sign a contract doesn't mean you have to do everything that they tell you to do. Truly.
Yes.
Outside in their bathrobes, Greg starts watering the garden plants, which Lucille had asked him to do. I just like to say, again, he's not just doing this. Lucille asked him to do it. Just a side note.
It's true.
And Joan is standing nearby and says, oh, make sure you don't get me wet. And Greg goes, I already did. And the camera cuts to Joan's reaction with, honestly, it was the best comedic timing. How do I describe her expression? She was like shocked, but in very lowercase. The joke was like, oh my God. Okay, Mark. It was kind of gross, but her reaction was super funny. That'll be a screenshot for sure.
I recoiled at that whole thing.
I'm like a teenage boy, so I was like, funny.
What? Greg starts doing this like sex retrospective. He's like, did you have a good time? And like,
good to check
in. It just grosses me out. It just grosses me out the way it's being brought up. I don't know.
Also, it's interesting. Like, I do agree with you that it seems like Joan is not that type of person. So I did think it was a little bit weird that he's like making sex jokes to the camera.
And she's just like not feeding into it. Like, she's just kind of like changing the subject. So even when he asks if she had a good time, he's like, wink, wink. She's like, yeah. And then she changes the subject immediately. And she's like, I do enjoy our time together, but she says she doesn't want to always be waiting for Lucille to go out, like to have privacy. And she says, it's killing me to live here for 2 years. And then it cuts to an interview with the producers and she just looks so tired and so sad. And she says she doesn't think she can keep going like this. And then we cut back to them in the garden and she says to Greg, if you don't get a job, I will go back to Uganda. He looks shocked.
He literally says, what did you say?
Yeah, what did you say?
I will say saying this right after supposedly having sex is kind of funny timing. But Greg, how are you shocked?
I know.
I'm glad she said it. He needs that wake-up call. Does he not get that?
I kind of get it though, because he's so giddy. He's like, oh my God, we're having the most amazing time. We just had sex. And she's like, yes. And also like there's a broader context and like, let's not, I don't know. I kind of get it. I agree. It was like a bit weird timing, but I get it. So then in the next segment, Joan is telling the camera that she fell in love with Greg because he's loving, but she really needs him to get serious. And she doesn't understand why he didn't take that job offer in preparation for her arrival, knowing she was coming. And I totally agree. And then Joan tells Greg, she's like, because he's just being jokey about the whole thing. And she's like, you joke too much. Like, you need to get serious. And he does this thing. He starts to become a major gaslighter here. He's like, it's who I am. It's who you fell in love with. It's like being funny doesn't mean you're not serious in life.
Totally. Time and place.
And then Greg says something that I was just like, Greg, listen to yourself. He says to Joan, he goes, far as getting a job, every day I'm on the state website. Side note, a state job like the one you turned down?
Yeah, what?
Okay, interesting.
Also, there's other types of jobs. Become a cashier.
Every day I'm on the state website. I'm looking at the jobs they've posted. I'm like, looking? I'm on Zillow looking at houses. I'm not buying them.
Also, state job websites, they don't post as frequently as just any job website. It's not like LinkedIn or something like that. So yeah, there's going to be fewer ones that are even relevant to you that you qualify for. That's not
And he just keeps using this crazy passive language. He's like, I've been applying. My resume's gone out. I'm like, gone out to where? I don't know. I don't believe him that he's like, and he just starts like really gaslighting her at this point, to be honest. I know I overuse that word, but he's just like acting as though he's been like in line at the unemployment office or whatever. Like he's literally at home making bread, occasionally glancing at a website. He turned down a job offer. Anything else he has to say is irrelevant.
Agreed. You can't get defensive.
This is the thing with him, is that his words and actions don't line up. He's like, I'm always applying. Okay, what matters is that you had the opportunity to better your own life and more importantly to me, Joan's life, and you turned it down for no good reason. Like, and then again, he's like defending. He goes, if I had a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't have been able to visit her in Uganda as much. Okay.
But that's the thing. It's so self-centered because, Greg, you didn't even talk to her about that. I can guarantee that if you explained, I got this job offer, if I accept it, obviously it's great, except that I won't be able to visit you as much. What do you think about that? I guarantee she would have said, I'll wish that you could come out, but absolutely take the job.
She's definitely thinking long-term and he's not.
Yes.
And basically he like wants credit for his contributions. And it's like, okay, you're like short-term past tense contributions. Like, let's focus on the future. You're not providing anything here. And then at this point, Joan brings up the dowry topic. And she says she's already mentioned this, but Greg looks stunned, but I believe Joan. And he asked what the dowry is, and she said it's 15 cows, which comes out to $200 each, so $3,000 total.
Mhm.
Greg is gagged. He says, realistically, how does somebody afford 15 cows? And Joan says, people afford it. It's you who can't afford it. It's not like people can't afford it. It's just you.
Woof. She's pissed. I think fairly, but woof.
Totally.
I think she's totally justified, but it was like, dang. She said it.
I know. And then Greg says, is it fair that all of this is on me? And then he goes on this kind of rant where he's like, I have to pay for everything. I have to pay for the wedding. It's like, Greg, this woman, she sacrificed everything to come to your country. She legally can't work. Yes, it's on you. That's how it works. Like, and honestly, the thing is as well, is like, I'm not saying this even like from a place of privilege, but like $3,000 is not that much money in the scheme of things. If you are able to like save up at all or whatever, like he's treating 3,000 like it's 50,000.
That's the thing, is if he had a job, he could save that up, especially that he is not paying rent. He could save that up within probably half a year.
Definitely. Again, it's just this thing where it's like the amounts of money that shock him. Again, I'm not trying to act like 3,000 is nothing. Like 3,000 is a lot of money for sure, but it's not like, oh my God, that's an amount of money that will bankrupt me for most people. Like it's something you can save up for. And it's odd that he's acting like this like unattainable amount of money.
It makes me wonder though, did Joan not mention this bride price to him before?
He definitely seems shocked by the amount. I wouldn't be shocked if she mentioned the concept and he just like didn't really take it seriously.
Again, never thinking of making a budget.
I know. And he just goes on this rant about how he has to do everything. And Joan is like, well, this is my culture. It's important to me, whatever. And she doesn't even entertain the rest of him being like, I have to pay for the wedding. Cause it's like, well, yeah, you do. And like, he's like, you knew who I was when you moved here. And like, he says she's springing this job thing on him. I'm like, the concept of having a job?
I'd hope you had thought about this before. And he has. So what is he even saying?
And he basically is at this point almost trying to make her sound like a gold digger. He's like, well, what if we get married and like I have a job but I lose my job? It's like, okay, be real. What she's saying is get off your ass and like support our family.
Try.
I think she would be understanding if like you actually had a proper job, you lost your job, you looked for another job. Like that's not her issue. Her issue
It's
is
a
like
totally different situation.
and this, so at this point, I was like, Greg, you are actually a gaslighter at this point because like you're making shit up. You're making it sound like she said like, I only want to be with you for making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
No, she says a job. And he's basically like, should we even get married if the job thing is so important? And it's like the way he keeps saying the job thing.
Maybe you should say the direct quote that I thought was so interesting. He says, well, what if the job doesn't come through in your life? What if you never get a job? What do you mean, Greg?
And it's also just like the pre-excuses.
Because it's like, hey, Greg, if Joan is not in your life, you still need a job. It's not her asking you to do this thing that is like so specific to her. You need one anyway.
And then he basically says that he's confused by this conversation since they had such a good time upstairs a minute ago. If sex, why job? Like, I don't understand the, like, poor Joan. I mean, I know the timing was weird, but this is like the forefront of her brain. It's like all she can think about is that she moved here for someone who is not supporting her.
I bet that also she feels a lot more comfortable having an argument with Greg when Lucila's not in the house. So actually the timing is not weird, Greg.
I know. And then Greg says to the camera that Joan threatening to go back is a knife in the heart. Shut the hell up, Greg.
That pissed me off.
And then Joan explains her side, which is like she just wants to see him put in effort to take care of her. Yeah.
Honestly, Joan could be fairly demanding a lot more of him than she is. She's being extremely patient with him, and it's frustrating that he thinks that she's attacking him.
And it's like when you look at the two things she's complaining about, which are linked, the living with Lucille and the him not having a job, he's always like, she's nagging me. But then like when she brings it up, he's like, I'm working on it, and doesn't work on it.
And also, all of his friends that we've seen have also given him the same feedback, regardless of Joan being a part of his life. So it's so disingenuous for him to act like this is surprising or this is her having these weird expectations that he won't be able to measure up to. That's just not, he's, I think, purposefully misinterpreting what she's saying so that he can be a victim and he doesn't have to be confronted with the negative emotions, feeling like he's a failure, because he kind of is by choice.
I agree.
And I don't think that's permanent. I think he can turn it around, but he is failing.
I mean, like, at this point, I'm just like, Greg, go fuck yourself. I'm so sick of his shit.
Yeah, honestly, I was really cheering for a lot of the women to just leave these men this episode. Certainly Mina and now Joan.
We've said this, but every time they're like, maybe I should, they don't even finish the sentence of maybe I should go back. We're like, yes.
Good idea. We support you.
We have a plan. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll buy the ticket. Joan, I'll get you out of here.
We will drive you to the airport.
Ready for Shawn and Alliya?
Speaking of enemies.
Yeah, dude, talk about us supporting the women leaving these loser dudes. Because Shawn and Alliya, oh my goodness.
There was actually a recurring theme I had, which is going to come up as we discuss this one. But like in this episode, I felt that a lot of these people took a turn from kind of clueless or stupid to actually cruel.
Yes.
And like, for example, Jordan, at first I was like, you're being stupid. Now I'm like, Jordan, you're being mean. And I felt the same way about Shawn. I was like, Shawn, I'm giving you a little leeway because you're old, but at a certain point, you are being cruel on purpose. The cruelty is the point.
And again, these people are full-grown adults. Shawn, the most of them all. So I truly think there's no excuse. If this is how someone is acting in their 60s, this is how they are.
I completely agree.
And again, I don't think that you cannot change in older age. Of course you can. I think that everyone is malleable. I think if you have a growth mindset, you can change. But I think Shawn cannot change.
And I think Shawn's mom is more progressive than he is.
Oh my gosh, yes. If Jean
So like
said
if we're
some
talking
fucked up
about
stuff,
age, you know what I mean?
and she's in her 80s, yeah, great comparison. So should we have like a trigger warning for like transphobia, low-key?
Yes. For a while, we have suspected that Shawn's behavior is not in accordance with Alliya's wishes. And we have kind of been going along with it. We've always put disclaimers that we don't support the way that he's speaking about her. But in this episode, it became painfully clear that Shawn is like explicitly
Going against her wishes of how she wants to be spoken about and treated.
going against her wishes in a way that feels harmful and cruel. And I just really, really want to make it clear. We're recapping what happened in the show because that's what we do. But we hate Shawn. We find his behavior absolutely despicable. And if mistreatment of trans people, dead naming, etc., is something that is upsetting to you, you can feel free to skip this part because it is honestly quite upsetting. Even for us to just talk about, it's upsetting.
Absolutely. And if for anyone who does want to skip, in the show notes, wherever you're listening, whether that's Spotify, Apple, another podcast thing, or YouTube, there are timestamps for the next one. So please feel free to check that out and just skip this whole section. We get it.
Nothing good happens. I'll tell you that.
No. For anyone who is okay with listening, let's get into it. Buckle up. So Alliya is meeting Shawn's friend Angela, who appears to be of a similar age, maybe like in her 50s. Who knows? They meet up to play bingo at a gay bar.
Wait, I need to say something for my personal life. Yesterday, watched this episode. They're at this place called Hamburger Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me this isn't freaky. An hour later, we were looking for another show to watch. We landed on Undercover Boss. And there were only 5 episodes available online. One of them was Hamburger Mary's.
That is really spooky.
Science, explain that.
I will say, apparently Hamburger Mary's is like a staple in West Hollywood.
I did get the vibe that it was like an institution.
For sure. Our producer who was watching it with me let me know.
What doesn't she know?
She knows so much. It's crazy. And she knows a lot about gay LA, I think. But apparently this is like a place to be. So they go to play bingo there. Alliya asked Shawn if bingo is, quote, a popular game for gays in the US, quote, which is kind of funny.
She's spot on. It is.
It was very loud though. So after a while, the 3 of them go outside to continue their conversation. In an interview, Angela, Shawn's friend, explains that she got little clues along the years that Shawn and Alliya have a relationship, but clearly it was nothing that deep. Angela, in the moment with Shawn and Alliya, asks what Alliya thinks of the US, and she tells her it's her first day here, so she kind of doesn't really know. And Angela is surprised that it's her first day there. She also doesn't understand the logistics of the visa. She has to clarify,
She
okay,
doesn't
so
know
you have 90 days to do
anything.
what? Yeah, she doesn't know anything in a way that made me think, is this a close friend of Shawn's?
I was just going to say that. I feel like he feels more comfortable telling distant people stuff because he's worried his inner circle will judge him or whatever. So, but it just seemed like they don't even really know each other. They did not seem close.
Seemed like co-workers or something. It was kind of funny. So yeah, it made me wonder, one, is this a close friend of Shawn's and he keeps everyone at an arm's length? Or is this, as you said, is this not a close friend, but he weirdly feels more comfortable telling a more distant friend something about Alliya? Either one I find concerning.
Agree.
So I'm like subconsciously self-regulating by like taking deep breaths. So Angela tells Alliya that she knew a little bit about her and says that in the first couple years that her and Shawn were talking, quote, I had a sense that Douglas was around. We cut immediately to an interview with Alliya. She says, quote, my dead name, it's my old male name, and I don't use that anymore. So this is, as we mentioned at the top, confirming what we were frankly worried about, but also suspecting, which is that this constant dead naming that Shawn has been doing is not cool with Alliya. And it's upsetting to hear.
And Alliya, she even clarifies, like, it really hurts her feelings. Like, it's not just, she's not just like, yeah, that's my old name. She's like, it genuinely hurts me really deeply when people use this. It's very clear she does not like it.
Yes. And we then cut to a flashback clip of Alliya with friends at a beach bonfire burning a photo of her pre-transition, with Alliya saying, goodbye, Douglas, to the photo. Shawn is next to her in this moment as she says to the photo, you were my foundation, but now it's time for me to fly. I assume they've also been on a spinoff. I think we can assume that every couple on the show has been on a different version of the show already. So it's us playing catch up, but
sorry, we haven't seen every episode of every single show.
Apologies. So something I will say here is the dead naming is, and this will be a big plot of the episode, but the dead naming is very clearly not fucking cool for Shawn to be doing at all. But I will say, in addition to that, the fact that Alliya held what seems basically like a funeral for her, seems like old self, I think we can give Shawn a pass for when he phrases things in that way, because it seems like Alliya was phrasing it like that. What do you think?
Okay, this is what I will say about it. So 2 things to just elaborate on here from my perspective. So number 1 is, like, I do really want to say when Shawn dead names Alliya, it is purposeful. He makes a purposeful effort to basically say, pre-transition, that was Douglas, now this is Alliya. It's not a thing that can happen, which is totally normal and excusable, which is you're thinking about a memory.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember the person looking differently, you accidentally dead name them.
Sure.
It's not that. And it's also not another kind of dead naming, which I think is okay to do once, which is explaining the transition to someone and say, I know you remember them as Douglas, but their name is now Alliya, and then that's it. You never say it again, right?
Yeah.
It's neither of those. It's him explicitly being like, oh, well, no, I didn't go there with Alliya. I went there with Douglas. Like, and it's odd.
As if it's a totally different person.
Yes. And I think for that reason, the death language still bothers me, because I have a feeling that Alliya, in her kind of like ceremonial bonfire thing, she was saying goodbye to a version of herself, but she wasn't saying that like all of those memories weren't hers or that she wasn't present there. She's just like, that version of me. Because Alliya, when she speaks about herself, I think a lot of trans people would feel this way. If there is a persona involved, the persona was Douglas. She was playing the part of a man, but she never was a man. And so she's saying, I'm shedding that persona to become my true self. Shawn's language implies Douglas is the true self. Alliya is a persona that has been layered on top of that.
Oh, that's a really, really good way to put it.
And so I think when she says, I'm shedding that persona, I don't need that anymore, I view that language as almost a metamorphosis language. I'm emerging from the cocoon that was Douglas to become the butterfly that is Alliya.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like Shawn is like, so I love this person who's dead now, and now I have to deal with this like replacement person.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even though the language is similar, I think the tone is super different.
Great point. Very insightful, Sophie.
Those little brain cells.
La, 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 la. Activated. In an interview, Alliya continues on to say that people don't understand how much it hurts her when people use her dead name, but it reminds her of feelings from the past that she doesn't want anymore. So she's saying it very explicitly. In the moment with Angela and Shawn, Alliya asks when Angela knew about her transition, and Angela says, about 6 months ago, Shawn said that Douglas changed into Alliya permanently. Again,
shut the fuck up, you guys.
Hate this conversation. I hate the way Angela is phrasing it, and I hate the way that Shawn is not stepping in to correct it.
I just also want to say, like, I have a desire when I don't know about a group of people, but I know that it's a sensitive situation, even if I don't have firsthand knowledge, I will like Google like best way to interact with this type of person or whatever. Like I want to get things right. And I'm just so annoyed by these people. They're not even trying to get it right.
And there's also the way that I mean, Shawn, yes. But in this moment, Angela is talking that is just triggering me so much. It's like so boomer. Like, I know how the world works and I'm not like sensitively approaching this subject. She's like, oh, well, Shawn told me that, Douglas changed into Alliya permanently. Again, I'm quoting Angela. And she says it in such like a callous way that I don't think she's trying to be cruel, but that doesn't save it. It is cruel. Why are you not realizing that you need to humble yourself and realize maybe you don't know exactly how to phrase this? When Alliya, by the way, is looking clearly uncomfortable in this conversation.
Totally.
So clearly.
It's that thing. I mean, I'm not saying she's mansplaining, but it's the mansplaining energy of like, well, I guess I just know everything in the world and no one could possibly know more than me, even about something that's like a very niche lived experience I haven't had. So I'm just going to go with my version.
It was really weird. I hated the tone that the two of them had.
Also, I thought Angela had a bitchy tone. Even though she wasn't being as cruel as Shawn, she kind of had this like snippiness about her or like judginess. It didn't feel welcoming. No.
Absolutely. So recounting Alliya coming out, Shawn says to the two of them that all he remembers is this feeling of the words being like, there is no Douglas. It seems this is how Alliya phrased it, at least in Shawn's rendition. And Shawn says that to him it felt like a death. Woof. Angela asks if Alliya also felt like she was mourning the loss of, again, Douglas. And Alliya says, in a shaky voice, I must say, that Douglas is not here anymore. Like she's trying to advocate for herself in this moment when she is having no support from these two. I'm really proud of her for like trying to say something, but you can tell like she's really lacking confidence. She has no one backing her up. And she just looks super uncomfortable at the table while the two boomers are just acting like everything is normal.
I really give her so much credit for trying to advocate for herself. It obviously wasn't entirely effective in this situation, but like, again, there's such a power dynamic here with the age and that they're in their country and she's brand new to the country. And I mean, everything. I was so proud of her for like in her little shaky voice trying.
Yes, truly brave.
If they were more empathetic, they would have picked up on what was happening instead of being like, well, I'm using that name for the story.
So now Angela leaves, like just because the night wound down, and Shawn asks Alliya how it went. But again, not in a super like, oh, sweetie, how did it go? Just like, hey, how did that go for you? I don't know, very like platonic or business-like. Yes. Alliya tells him, I'm very proud of her here. Alliya tells him that it upset her that both Shawn and Angela used her dead name so much this evening. And Shawn gets super defensive and says, well, she's only needing to know the story and what happened. So it's just so dismissive. It's gross. It doesn't actually matter what Alliya is upset about. If your partner is talking to you like this about anything that hurt their feelings, this is unacceptable.
He does not give a shit. He's no apology, no sympathy, no attempt at understanding. Just like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so whatever.
Shut up. So anyway, the next day, Shawn and Alliya go clothing shopping. Shawn asks Alliya if she's still upset about last night, and she says yes, because he kept bringing up her dead name.
I also want to add, he's not like, hey, just wanted to check in. Are you still upset about last night? He goes, are you still mad about last night? Like, judgy and dismissive off the bat.
Yeah, and Alliya explains yes, because he kept bringing up her dead name, which she already said. Like, yeah, what are you not getting? Shawn says, obviously Angela knows about my relationship with Douglas. And Alliya immediately interrupts him there and says, we don't need to use the name. And you can really tell this took bravery from her. It seems like she prepared herself to tell him the next time he dead named her.
I was really proud of her.
Yeah, me too. But I'm like, why does she have to do this with her intimate partner? Like, this is so ridiculous. I'm actually like getting pissed thinking about it again.
There's a pattern that I'm noticing. I don't know if it's specifically here, but I am picking up on it, but I've seen it more broadly in the world, which is like sometimes under the LGBTQ plus umbrella, there's the sense that if you're under the umbrella at all, that you like are an expert on all the other people under the umbrella. And I see this a lot, specifically with like white, rich, gay men living in a place where being gay is totally normalized. I'm sorry, if you're a white, rich, gay man in West Hollywood, like you're living a life of privilege. And I'm not saying being gay has never been a struggle in your life or isn't still a minority in the world. Of course it is, but it's this like anti-intersectionality that they do sometimes where they're like, well, I'm gay, therefore I'm a part of an oppressed group. And it's like, if you do the ranking of every subgroup in the world, like white rich gay man in California or New York, you're doing pretty well for yourself. There's sometimes this feeling of like, well, I'm gay, so I get it. And it's like being a gay rich white man in West Hollywood is so different from being a trans woman of color living in Brazil, now an immigrant. And I almost get the vibe from him that he has this feeling of like, well, I can't be transphobic because I'm gay. He hasn't said it, but I get the feeling from him.
And hey, maybe we're wrong, but I totally was thinking the exact same thing. Shawn is now like, so what do you want people to say? And I hate the tone he is using. It sounds like she's putting such a burden on him. And Sophie, I think this touches on the things that you said in the first episode they were introduced in about how like trans people are often made to feel that their transition is a burden on the people around them. And I mean, the way he is talking about it is absolutely, that is the implication. It's like, what do you want me to do?
You forced this on me.
Or like, oh my God, it's the goalpost is always moving. These aren't direct quotes, but this is the vibe he is giving off, which is not even true. She's literally just saying, please just don't use my dead name. And he's like, oh.
Please treat me with dignity.
And by the way, guys, hey, this has been known in places like LA. People know not to dead name. This is not like in 2025, we changed the rules. This has been a thing that is known. Don't piss me off.
You do one Google search, how to be a supportive partner to a trans person. That's the number one thing for sure.
So this is obviously super upsetting. And Alliya again says, don't use the name. She's being so clear. He's just being purposefully obtuse. Like he's just twisting her words and is stupid. He's just a fucking idiot. Shawn then has this super insensitive quote where he's basically mocking her. He says, so I'm talking to nothing, and then nothing says to me, and when I meant nothing, nothing meant nothing. Saying, like, I can't say your dead name, so I just have to say nothing instead. It's actually mean. He's being fucking mean right now.
Cruel, genuinely cruel. And it really backs up the fact that, like, he cannot recognize the fact that in the past, that was still Alliya. Alliya is the core of the person. She had the, persona of Douglas at the time, but Alliya was at the core. And Alliya was there with him the whole time. Alliya was the one he had these memories with. He's acting like Alliya is a brand new person he just met, and he cannot retroactively be like, oh yeah, that was Alliya the whole time. So this really speaks to his perception of what being trans is.
I completely agree. And again, it doesn't matter what they're talking about, even if they're talking about something less sensitive. If they're talking about like where to go out to dinner. The way he is talking to her in a disagreement is fucking mean. Oh, so unacceptable. And then on top of it, obviously, the fact that this is literally about a core tenet of her identity that she, oh my God, it's unforgivable. I mean, I hate him. I really think, I'm not saying as a human being he can't be redeemed, but he can't be redeemed in my eyes. I don't fuck with him.
He's not kind.
And Alliya says that when talking about her pre-transition, he should just call her Alliya then too. Yes. Shawn then says that Alliya should be the one to correct people in the moment. No, that's wrong. Shawn, that is literally your job.
It's also Mark vibes again, where it's like, well, it's your thing. So and it's like, you're the connector of these people. You set the tone. You know the people.
Yeah.
Ay.
And the fact that like also it's making me think about how he said his plan basically is to not tell his friends about Alliya, but just introduce her to them. So he's going to be throwing her to the sharks.
He's setting her up for failure.
Imagine his friends who think that Shawn is a gay man meeting his partner who is a woman. And then they're like, wait, why are you dating a woman? And then I'm sure Shawn would be like, well, she's trans. As if that would be.
Well, it was Douglas.
Yeah, like, what the hell? He's awful. So Shawn says he didn't know it made her feel uncomfortable. And Alliya says at this point, she just wants to focus on the future, like in her life. Shawn says that, well, she brought it up, so that's why he was talking about it. But if they're not talking about it, then that's fine. This man is 62. How are these his conflict resolution skills? In an interview, he says, one of my fears with being with someone who is transitioning is that I feel like somehow part of the problem because I represent something from the past that you don't want to think about. Which, number one, that's not what's happening here. That's not what Alliya is saying to him. She's literally just saying, hey, I was always Alliya. Please refer to me as such. And he's saying as if she's saying, oh, well, being with you is reminding me of my pre-transition self. She literally hasn't said that.
Number one, I think it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I feel like he's like, well, I guess I'm part of your old life, so I guess I shouldn't. And I'm like, it reads to me like he's looking for an out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you have an
Yeah.
out. She's a woman. You're gay. That's fine. You don't have to be together. You don't
That's
even
enough.
need an excuse to break up with someone. You can just say, I'm not into you. That's fine. Break up. But he hasn't said this explicitly, but something that came up for me as well was like, I wonder if he feels like his identity as a gay man is being erased. When he talks about sort of like him being erased, like, I mean, he's obviously not being erased. He's still there. But I wonder if he feels like that version of himself that was, showing up in gay spaces. I wonder if that's kind of more what he's referring to. I don't know. Either way, it's kind of bullshit.
It's kind of funny because it's like, oh, so you feel not affirmed in your identity being with her. So number one, you should have empathy for this and also recognize that this means you're not in the right relationship.
Totally.
So in an interview, Shawn says that he went through a long period of mourning Douglas, but there's an inner light in both of them, meaning both Douglas and Alliya. Again, this fucking phrasing that he is drawn to. He says it's beyond sex and gender. Okay, actions versus words.
I was about to say, act like it. I know.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You can't just say that and mean it's true. This whole last section from here on out is just like Shawn kind of trying to trick Alliya. He gives her a gift that I think the goal is to make her believe that he is more affirming of her identity than he actually is, without actually having to apologize for what he's done or learn any better. He's just like, here, just take this and shut up. It's a shut up gift, I think.
I agree. And also one thing that was coming up for me with this is like, I think sometimes people have the feeling that for a relationship to be bad, it has to be bad 100% of the time. Because people will cling. They're like, well, sometimes it's this. And it's like, no, the threshold needs to be that the relationship is good 100% of the time. Like, and maybe it's realistically going to be more like 90 or something. Okay, but if your definition of good is that it is ever good, that's not right. And I think the thing is, if a relationship was bad 100% of the time, you would not be together. Even the worst relationship you can think of, it has to be good at least a little bit, because most people, like, they're clinging to something good, right? And so I just kind of hate this notion of like, yeah, he did dead name me all day and made me cry and disrespect me, but then he did this one nice thing for me. And like, that's the point. In shitty relationships, they're nice to you enough that you stay.
Yeah, exactly. Abuse 101.
Totally. So this made me sad because I was like, it would have been a nice gesture in a better context.
So what happens is Shawn says to Alliya over dinner that he wants her to know that he's not doing anything purposely to upset her about the past, and he's rolling with the changes. Not true, but okay, he's saying that. And he sees her, loves her, and he made something so that she can understand he is here for the present. Just a bunch of fucking talk. So Shawn explains to the camera that in the past, Alliya pre-transition made an adventure book, scrapbook, showing their memories together, which is very cute and sweet. And Shawn now presents Alliya with a new adventure book, but instead of Shawn and Douglas written on it, says Shawn and Alliya. Alliya immediately starts crying. The book is filled with photos of Alliya and also the two of them together. And Shawn tells her this is the Alliya and Shawn story. In an interview, Alliya says that this is the first time she really feels like Shawn is supportive of her and this is the person she wants to marry. And this just falls so flat to me because, yes, if we're just looking at this section, it's so sweet. But we have to look at it in the context of everything that's happening in this episode and also the previous episodes. This is not enough.
Also, might I add, this is the only time he's sort of indicated pride in the relationship, pride in being with Leah, and it's something he's doing in private at home.
God.
And I'm like, when people are only nice to you in a relationship, like in private, that's really a big red flag.
Yes.
I want to see him bring this energy to his friend group, to his family.
Absolutely.
If it's just at home, if it's just a scrapbook he made at home, and that's it, it's really far from enough.
Agreed. And again, just everything he says here, I don't believe him because he showed consistently throughout this episode to be completely doing the opposite of these things and in a truly mean way. Not just, ignorance or like I slipped up whatever. It was consistently being mean.
For someone to say to you, even if you don't understand it, but for someone to say to you, this thing you're doing is causing me pain. Can you please not do it? And for you to say, I'm going to keep doing it. I mean, like, what the fuck? That says it all.
There's no excuse for that. It just is disgusting.
It's sadistic. It's actually sadistic because you're knowingly causing pain to someone you love.
And hey, I'm going to say it's not love. It's like and attraction, but it's not love. Love has to be kind and respectful.
I completely agree.
we end the episode with Juan and Jessica, and it's the morning. Jessica and Juan are in bed asleep, like the curtains are drawn and everything. Dawson, the middle child, just walks into their bedroom, which he can do because there's no door. We must remind everyone. And he jumps on Juan.
He mounts him.
It's so cute how much the boys like Juan. It's really sweet. I like seeing these moments of them as a family.
It is cute, and I'm overstimulated on Juan's behalf.
You're right. I will say, though, as a kid, I would just like open my parents' bedroom and go jump on them sometimes. So I guess
you know what? You were a famously overstimulating child.
That's true. God, I cannot imagine how my mom and dad handled raising me without AirPods. I look forward to when I have children, I can just pop in my fucking AirPods and do noise canceling and be like,
Mommy's on noise canceling.
In an interview, Jessica explains that her and Juan had a rough night because they had the fight about his cheating / her almost cheating or like emotional cheating. It was just a mess. But she says that basically they need to kind of hide that in front of the kids because it's not appropriate to fight in front of them, which I agree with. I think that's good. I will say Jessica does seem like a good mom from what we've seen. Like the boys seem really happy and comfortable, and they seem very sweet, honestly. Like, so they all get up and Jessica goes to the room and brings out matching pajamas for everyone. And Juan changes into his. It's a cute domestic moment. And in an interview with Juan and Jessica, she explains that it's a Christmas tradition for the family to wear matching PJs on Christmas. And I is it Christmas? I think it maybe is Christmas Eve.
Like approaching, like it's Christmas.
Yeah, a little confusing. But a little bit of a funny moment. Juan says in the interview that he expected her PJs to be a bit sexier with less reindeers. And she's like, no. Anyway, but they're smiling, being cute. So they go to drop off the kids with Jessica's ex-husband, the boy's dad, which is walking distance from her house, which honestly sounds really clutch. It's so convenient. Yeah. And I will say that the house is definitely bigger than Jessica's, and she mentions, because Juan is like, wow, this is a nice house. And Jessica says, yeah, the boys call it the mansion instead of, not my tiny little house or whatever. I bet they have a door on their bedroom.
I guarantee it.
So in an interview, Juan says that the fight last night made him realize that they've both kept secrets in their relationship and they need to work things out, which is true. And now Juan and Jessica are walking back home with David in the stroller, and Juan starts a conversation with Jessica about exactly that, what they need to work out. So he tells her that hearing about the situation with her ex and that he came over at night when the boys were away did make him uncomfortable to hear. Jessica says that she thinks that at the time, the two of them, meaning her and Juan, were not communicating well, and they were both equally lonely, Jessica tells Juan that at that time her ex was going through something in his life, and she was genuinely just trying to be there for him as a friend. And as I said in the last episode, I do wonder if he's honestly a friend of hers, meaning before they started dating, they could have gone to high school together and everything. It's a really small town. I bet that they know each other beyond just having dated. So I think this is pretty plausible. She says that her intentions were never bad. Juan says he understands he's also been lonely before. And she says, well, I didn't do what you did.
They need to decide if they're going to move on from this or not.
I know. Like the little jabs. Move on. Yeah. Like she is right, but is it worth being right in the moment?
She's right, but I kind of hate that she's like telling like Megan, like, well, we've totally talked about it. We've totally worked through it. It's a total non-issue. And then like I know they're actively having a fight about it. So I get that it's like a topic right now, but it's definitely on the forefront of her mind.
Yeah.
And I just feel like either it's a deal breaker or it's not. And you kind of have to figure out how you're going to move forward.
I agree. And seemingly Juan doesn't really respond to that, which I think is for the best. And Jessica says that it worries her that he hasn't lived the normal life that she lives here in Wyoming in a while because he's been, living and working on the cruise ship. In an interview, Juan says that she's right. He gave up his career, his life on the ship. And back in the moment, Jessica says that she wants him to be there, not because he feels he has to, but because he wants to. And as a side note, when they're having this conversation, I really like their body language to each other. They both stopped walking the stroller. They're facing each other. Juan has a hand on her shoulder, and she's looking at him with, honestly, a lot of love in her eyes.
Okay.
I do want to highlight that because the two of them in this moment, I feel, have genuine chemistry, even when they're low-key having a fight,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that feels very real. I mean, we can have criticisms of their relationship and not necessarily want to be in this dynamic, let's say, but I do believe that these two have a real connection that I don't necessarily feel with other couples. So I think it's important to
Yes,
highlight.
I agree. It is interesting though, like, I think this represents actually maturity from Juan, because in that interview where he's talking about what a sacrifice it is, he's also says like he's realizing what a sacrifice it is. He didn't really at the time consider the fact that this meant giving up not just his career, but a way of living that was, let's be honest, much more fun and exciting.
Yeah.
But then he has the maturity or sense to not say that to Jessica's face. When she asks about it, he's like, no, this is what I want. Like, and I can actually respect that, because I think a lot of other couples have these issues of like just saying whatever's on their mind. And sometimes it's actually not really helpful to say it. And so I was actually surprised that he didn't go, I don't know, I was surprised he didn't say something more negative to her face about the lifestyle when she asked him point blank about it.
Yeah, in general, from what we've seen so far, Juan has just been noticing things. He hasn't been like, I mean, in interviews, he's been like, this is a tiny town, best place for living, like sarcastically, but we haven't actually seen him express that to her directly. So to your point, I do think that's the right move, because it's just a really big adjustment. And on some level, like, you do wish that your partner could always be totally honest with you and you could always listen to how they're feeling and be there for them. But sometimes you just can't take it on. And that is a situation in which you or your partner needs to talk to their friend about it.
Yes.
And not you directly. There's just, you can't always have the capacity to take on every bit of emotional labor. And I appreciate that Juan is seemingly getting ahead of this by just not even being direct with her about it, but in a way that doesn't feel dishonest, I think.
No, it feels smart. In general, I have to say, like, I am pretty impressed with their emotional maturity collectively. And especially Juan. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're never going to forget the horrible thing that he did by cheating on her. But I feel like in the moment, like, I get the sense from him, he's like, this is the mother of my child. This is where she lives. This is, you know, where her other children's father lives. And we're going to make it work. And I really respect that. This wraps up episode 7 of My Best View. Thank you to everyone for being here listening with us. We really appreciate it.
Please make sure to follow the show on whatever platform you listen to us on. Leave a review and make sure to check us out on social media like Instagram at My Best View Pod and TikTok at My Best View Podcast.
Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, bye.